Welcome to Living Martial Arts with Master Ray Gale, aka the Dark Master. Living Martial Arts discuss and examines the everyday exercise, philosophy, and lifestyle of the martial arts enthusiast. The host talks about his own training, past and present, and he also interviews many martial artists to discover how they continue to live their own martial arts journey. Tune in for top tips on how to get the best out of your martial art. Or perhaps you're thinking of starting a martial art. This podcast offers you an easy way to dip your toe in. Sign up for the newsletter at livingmartialarts.com and get regular updates and training tips direct to your inbox. Follow the Dark Master on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Living Martial Arts.
Okay, good day to everyone. This is me, the Dark Master, with the Living Martial Arts podcast. And so I'm just seeing my guest giggling there. I'm not sure why I call myself the Dark Master, but those that have seen me will know why. But yeah, I've got Master Gordon Wallace with me today on the podcast. And Master Wallace, I think I first met him, it was in the early 80s. In fact, I think I've got a photograph somewhere of myself and Master Wallace at the Scottish Championships in 1983, collecting some trophies. And I think on that day I fought Brian Nelson. Was it Brian Nelson?
Could have been, yeah. Could have been 83. 83, I think that was in Granby Halls. I know there was one competition in Granby Halls.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was. I think. Or
was that 86? I can't remember.
Well, I think 83. I'm definitely sure I won 83 because that was my best year ever.
Okay.
As I tell my
students. It was actually a good year for me. I got 2 golds and a bronze at the British Championships at Nottingham.
Yes, so I remember it.
It was a good year for me. Yeah.
I remember. Well, I remember it well because you were quite a competitor, and you had a different hairstyle in those days, as I did.
Yes.
But they were great days actually. In the UKTA days were fantastic days, and Taekwondo in the UK was really, really growing very, very quickly. And just to say that I loved. I've got fond memories of going to Scotland because I took my first degree and my second degree in Scotland because that was where the centre of the Taekwondo world was in those days. Everybody went to Glasgow. So I did my
a cold building with spiky floors where you got splinters in your feet.
Well, exactly. But thanks for joining us on this podcast. It's really a great pleasure. And as I said, the nice thing about me doing this is I can talk to people from way back when Taekwondo was young, and people knew Taekwondo in a slightly different way to what we know it today. But
sure.
How are things going with you at the moment, Master Wallace?
Well, we opened last night. It was our first night back. COVID, the 2 lockdowns we had,
sure,
devastated our numbers. But we put a super process in place. We did some Zoom classes, but they weren't the main medium for teaching. Sure. Because we got lots of kids and quite an extensive kids program. So we created very early on a really intensive library of videos for all the curriculum, so the kids and adults alike could watch it, and then they would submit videos to us for personal feedback. So that way it allowed us to teach pretty much to the same standard, and then the Zoom classes were just an extra for contact and chit chat and see how everybody was getting on. Right. So it worked. It actually opened up a whole new avenue of possibilities for the future through Zoom and video training and at-home training. So it's been a learning curve. It's kind of hurt us a lot, but we're glad to be back and training again.
Well, I can relate to that. Very similar to myself, really. I'm sort of just back now and teaching the adults still outside, the juniors inside. But as you say, the first time round, I did a lot of Zoom, and I collected a lot of videos, which actually I'm using some of those now. So when new students come in, I can send them some videos of some of the basic moves. So I think you need to take take the good things out of what has happened. It has been a devastating time for the martial arts, but we're hoping that we can, I say, rekindle the fire and get it burning again, and everybody coming back. But off camera, we were sort of talking about the early days of Taekwondo, and I was just saying that I had a soft spot in my heart for Glasgow because I took my first degree there, my second degree. In fact, it was my first squad training session in St Andrews in Scotland. So I went all the way up.
That was at Lucas.
Yeah,
my mum. At Lucas. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandmaster Oliver and the entourage.
That's
from
right.
Thorn and Doncaster made their way up.
Yeah.
So I remember I was at that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slagging off my training shoes. I had bright green, luminous green training shoes. So I remember I was getting some stick from me in Ferguson. Yeah.
Well, it was great, but the thing I remember actually was my mum saying, I said to my mum, I'm going to training next weekend. And she said, oh, well, that's nice. I said, yeah, it's in Scotland. She said, where?
And RAF Lucas, that's because Jim Scott had moved down there from Elgin, so he had organised it.
Yeah, but they were great days. But so again, we were sort of talking off camera, but perhaps you can tell the listeners a little bit about your martial arts journey, really. And as I said, I came across you in the very early days, and you're still there. You're one of the people that I've seen from time to time, and you're still doing it. But how did it start?
It started because all my friends went, really. It was way back in 77. I'd just come out of the Navy. I'd left school and joined the Navy. So I was in there for a few years, and I had just come out for a few months.
Right.
And my friends went from work, and they went down. And Taekwondo was always something that had been in the back of my mind, because at school, we used to go to the community centre, and they had a Taekwondo class there, a small one, run by RAFB people. And I used to watch them. And again, it was just, I never took any inkling to join. It was just, if they were there, I would sit and watch for a few minutes. And it was always in the back of my mind, I guess. And then when they started, they'd been for about a couple of months. And then they were demonstrating. We worked in a fabrication shop, so they started demonstrating three-step sparring.
Yeah,
and I thought, I'll just go anyway. So we left. We used to work till 7:30 every night. Fabrication shop. We were black. Honestly, we were covered in soot and everything. Yeah. So we would have to run down from 7:30. The class started, so we had to run down, and you ran down in your work clothes. So we're in the sink, and we all had tide marks round here, and tide marks round here, and that was how I started. 1st of March 1977, I started in Elgin, up north.
Yeah. Well, it's funny to say that the early days of Taekwondo, and also in Scotland as well, and when I started Taekwondo again, which was around about that time, I actually did karate before. I did think I did karate in about 76. Because of the Bruce Lee movies and Kung Fu on television and so on. But I actually changed to Taekwondo because I remember going along to karate, and the guys were huge. And I was thinking, wow. I remember getting punched a few times, thinking, this really hurts. These guys are big guys. I remember going to a Taekwondo class to have a look. And there were some big guys, but there were some small guys as well. Yeah. I thought, I could probably fit into that class a little bit better. And it was actually closer to my house as well, because I had to take a bus to go to karate, and Taekwondo was in sort of walking distance and so on. So that was that. But we were talking previously and just before this, and perhaps you can sort of tell the listeners. Because Taekwondo was sort of centred, the big place was sort of Glasgow. I remember going to my first degree and taking my grading in Renfrew Street, that big hotel, which was the academy, which was absolutely freezing cold. I think I took my first degree in September, and it was freezing. I couldn't believe it. So I don't know. Perhaps you can tell us about the scene in and around Scotland and Taekwondo at that time.
Scotland was busy. Because obviously most of Taekwondo in the UK started through RAF members. And where we started in Elgin, Kinloss was a big Taekwondo centre, and that moved into Elgin. And then it was, I guess, Grandmaster McCallum down in the Central Belt. He was also in the RAF. So Taekwondo was really, really, it was very, very big and very, very popular. Up north, we didn't have much karate at all. It was all Taekwondo even way back then. Yeah. But Scotland was thriving. And I think it also helped with the UK that there was so much support came north from England and Wales. And then also it seemed like, although we were separate in Scotland and England and Wales, we really did have one big UK family. And it was, and it's quite a shame that that's not there anymore, because it was heady days. It was the rivalry was great. We always had super tournaments, you know, and especially when we had home nations, Scotland v England v Wales. It was always a real tear up, and it was great times. And we really enjoyed having the Scottish Championships, English Championships, Welsh Championships, and then we'd have the British Championships. And I know it was quite insular, and that was a lot of the problems that came later on was because we were so insular. There was no international communication. We only knew what the information that we were given.
Yes.
But what the UK achieved in levels of technical excellence back in those days was incredible. And if we had managed to keep it together, they would have been an outrageous force in the world today. I mean, my goodness me. But it was great. It was good fun, and we just travelled we trained every opportunity we had. We trained. It was just great. Well, it was just fun.
It's fantastic, and I would agree with everything you say there. And you know, as I said, I thought nothing of going up to Scotland for a training session and then meeting everyone. You know, a lot of I think I was first time I went up to Scotland, I was a first cup. I was a black stripe, and oh man, I couldn't believe it. It was great. You know, it's one of the first times that I've been that far up north. You know, across the border, and it was brilliant. I'll tell you this little story. What was funny? The first time I went up to Glasgow, I remember going into a chip shop, and I saw there was a Sikh there with a Sikh turban. Anyway, I went and ordered my fish and chips, and then he came up and he had the widest Glaswegian accent I've ever heard, and he must have thought I was really rude because I couldn't stop laughing. For me, it was just hilarious. I'd never seen a Sikh with a Glaswegian accent, and even in Bristol, the Sikhs still had an Asian accent, and it was just funny. But quite amusing. Lucky enough, I managed to control myself. But
it's very common. It was because the Indians and that have been here for such a long time, you know. And Glasgow is a big. It's got some cracking Indian restaurants. I actually ate the hottest curry, or this restaurant claimed to have the hottest curry in the world. So I was determined. So I went and I undertook the challenge, and I signed the waiver to start, and then at the end of it, I got my certificate. And it was hard going. Like,
well, the last time I was in Scotland, I was in the West End of Glasgow.
Okay.
And somebody said to me, I was at a B&B or something, and I said, "Oh, you know, is there any good Indian restaurants here?" And he said, "Yeah, if you just go down there, that'll be one of the best Indian restaurants you've ever eaten in." I think it was called the Mother of India or something. Okay. I tell you what, I went there. And I was with some friends, and first of all, there was a queue to get in. I thought, well, this must be good. Either this is really good, or I don't know what's going on. We went in there, and you're right. I tell you what, I had the best Indian food that I'd had. Better than even places like Leicester, which is renowned for Indian food. But it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. But yeah, so anybody who goes to Scotland or Glasgow, get some Indian food there.
It's absolutely super. Well, I've learned to cook Indian food now. That was one of my things I did during lockdown. Yeah, it was my last challenge. I'm quite a good cook. I can cook lots of different things. I could cook good curries, but not what you get in an Indian restaurant. So we did some research, and it's a whole different art form called British Indian restaurant cooking. Yes, and it's adapted for fast turnaround. So I've done that, bought all the spices. I must have like 60, 70 spices in this drawer, and I can make amazing Indian food now. Hoorah.
Excellent. Well, so going back to your journey, the one thing I remember, and I still remember about you actually, and I remember when I saw you at the IIC in Ireland, and it brought it back to me. You were always very cool and calm. Now, whether that was just a facade, I don't know. But I always remember you in competition, and I remember seeing you in competition and thought, wow, you know, this guy's really good. You're a very cool competitor. You know, very courteous and so on. And I still get that to this day, to be honest. When I see you and when I see you interact with people. So just on the competitive side, you know, was it something that you focused on a lot? I always say I was a sort of an accidental competitor, you see. I just found out that I was good at it, but I didn't start Taekwondo because of that. I actually like the physical side of it, and that's why I still do it to this day. I still keep myself very fit. I train, you know, most days and so on. But I don't know. What about yourself?
Well, in well, first of all, for training, it always had to be done right. I just couldn't leave any stone unturned. It had to be done right, and I always thought the phrase "train hard, fight easy" wasn't around then, but I think that must have been the philosophy, because it was always practice. Because I remember, even like for patterns, so many times it's not like I blacked out, but I used to come off going, I can't even remember doing that last section in the pattern, and I keep thinking, if you hadn't prepared and repeated, you would have forgotten it at that point and stopped, you know, and. I think what made me do that was in the European Championships, I got into the final down at Crystal Palace.
Oh,
and
yes.
I just come in from offshore, and I just jumped on the sleeper and went down, and I hadn't practiced, and I got into the final with the highest score, and I was in doing Gaybeck, and I got as far as the middle knuckle fist punch, and I was thinking ahead, going, I've got this in the bag. And then my mind went blank, completely blank.
Yeah.
And I completely blew it. I got ahead of myself. So after that point, I thought, you've got to, you know, focus. So everything I did, it was always that. And I tried to always maintain my fitness, my strength, stretching, everything. And I always felt when I went in, I could think, I can't fail because I've practiced so much, and it's I might get beat, but I won't have failed. I've given it. There's no reason to turn up and not be ready. Because I think the cardinal sin is it's okay to get beat because it might not be your day. It might be the better competitor, but never turn up if you're not in shape. And that's unforgivable. So I always made sure that bit was done. Yeah. And I keep to it to this day.
Yeah.
But for competition. No, competition comes second. In our academy, we're always martial art first. Yes. Absolutely. And it's fundamentals, patterns, basics, step sparring, conditioning, all these things. And then and we got taught that even in our day. I mean, I'll give you a laugh. Thursday night in Elgin, we'd be there doing training. So there's a whole corps of us, and we'd say to the instructor, Mr. Scott, "Come and spar, come on. All the skinhead heads are in. Let us spar and let them, you know, show them how hard we are, you know." And says, so what would he have us doing? No, he'd have us doing all your somebodic mackies out of tune gun and stuff like that. You know, all the worst exercises you could think of to do in front of all this, and he would have us doing that all the time. You know, it was every night. We never ever got to show them how tough we were. But to get back to my point, no, I find if you do all the fundamentals and everything, the competition becomes easy. Yeah. And we have great success with our area, and I really find surprised how we're so good at sparring, but we very rarely do much sparring in class.
Yes,
you know, and it's obviously if we are going to go to competitions, we do extra training and drills and stuff because it's gotten very, you know, the whole spectrum of sparring has changed a little bit, but we're always martial art first and competition second.
That's great. And I think, you know, I was speaking to somebody recently on this podcast, and I was saying that I think, you know, if you do focus on completely on competition, when your competition days are over, there's nothing left. And, you know, I knew that when I finished competing, I was going to carry this on, because I wasn't doing it for competition. I wasn't doing it for the trophies and anything like that. It was because I love doing the martial art. I love doing all aspects of the martial art as well. And I often say to people, if I see them, you know, quite competition focused, I said, yeah, no, that's good, but you know, you need to do the other stuff as well. You know, get a passion for these things. Otherwise, you know, competition doesn't last that long. You know, I retired. I think well, it was actually a charity fight that somebody asked me to do in 1995, but I actually retired in 91 to spend some more time with my second child then, who was 1. My first child was 5, 6. So yeah, I would agree.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, I absolutely love competitions. Oh, I just think it's the business. I absolutely love it, you know, and I'm still involved with it on the umpire committee now. Yeah. And I love organising. My students love it, because it's another avenue, and it does so much good as well. Yes. But you can't solely focus on that, because it's not real, you know. But there's so many good benefits to it, and we use it. Everybody has to enter competition, and the reason being is because it's part of your confidence. Yeah. And again, even if it's just patterns, you have to learn to deal with the butterflies, and you know, and it's part of self-defense. You know, if to stand up to somebody, so you don't even have fists flying. You just have to stand at the side of the ring and shake in your boots and step onto the mat, and you just have to learn that. So we use competitions a lot for that aspect as well. And then when it comes to sparring, you know, it's psychological, because you get used to the people in the class, and competitions give you that little step up in aggression, and also speed and nerves, and so they are very much an integral part of martial arts. You know, but they can't be your sole focus. I don't think so.
No. Well, you know, for me, I wake very early. I'm an early riser. My eyes ping around 6 o'clock or just before, and I'm up. You know, I'm doing stuff, and immediately I'm thinking about, you know, the lesson that I'm going to teach later on, and what sort of training I'm going to do myself personally, and you know, that's how my sort of day goes. So, you know, now moving on to where we are now, how do you fit martial arts into your sort of everyday life? I know you teach, obviously, but what does it look like?
It's every day. We run a full-time gym with my wife. So every single day, we're off Fridays, and is our only total day off. Saturdays, we've got nothing planned, but that's when we do extra training. But we've got classes on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then when I'm not doing that, then I'm always involved with the ITF umpire committee. So I'm always doing work with them, although it was quiet earlier on, but now we're doing a whole tranche of QIUCs. Yes. So we did an awful lot of work on all the presentation material, videos and PowerPoint and everything. So that's my thing. So I did all of that. And now I'm working with the European board for the online competitions that we're doing just now. So every day is a Taekwondo day. And it's quite nice to put all that stuff aside and then go into the gym and shout at some people and kick some pads. And we got all the kids in last night, and they're all in with their stories, all the wee ones, 4 to 6-year-old. Yeah. And they were just absolutely hyper. Yeah. So it's great. It's really, really good.
Good. No, excellent. Well,
every day, yeah.
Well, I think that's it. And thinks, you know, when I get in front of students, and you know, I tell them about practicing, and you know, the thing that it's, you know, it's not something that I'm obsessed with in that sense, but I tend to think, right, okay, you know, what do I need to work on, and what do I need to work on myself personally? How can I improve, and so on. I try and tell them to get that sort of mindset that we're always trying to move forwards. Okay, there's always something they can practice in any situation. So what would you say the main benefits that, you know, your martial art has given you? I mean, I think for me, I was a very shy kid in my teens, but I was very competitive, and some may say slightly aggressive when I was a teenager. I think martial arts has given me a focus. It's given me some direction in my life. You know, I've had people that I know who grew up in the area that I was in a city, Bristol, that ended up on the wrong side of the law. You know, a friend of mine that I went to school with actually got killed in a card game, gambling, and things like that. So it's given me a focus. It's given me a direction in my life, and it really given me my life. Really, I've met some fantastic people. So yeah, just what has it done for you?
Well, I think it gave me. It certainly. I think I must have always been a structured mind. When I was at school, I really wasn't. I really didn't apply myself at school. I wasn't bad or anything mischievous or something like that, but I was never bad. I just didn't apply myself. And I left school with minimum qualifications because I knew I was going straight into the Navy. And I really loved the discipline in the Navy. It was great. I just took to a duck to water. So that part of regimentalness has always, I must have subconsciously been there. I left solely because they posted me back to Lossiemouth, 6 miles away from my house. And I joined up on the premise of what you were seeing on the TV was, you know, palm trees and rum and coke on the beach. And all I got was, you know, rainy Lossiemouth. Had I not been posted there, then I would have easily have stayed in because I absolutely loved it. I was 16 years of age, getting to refuel aircraft, you know, and it was brilliant. But then straight after that, 3 months after that, I started Taekwondo, so it was destiny. It gave me definitely organization, confidence, and just do it right. And the training, the attention to detail I used to put into my patterns, I used it in every avenue of my work. And it always had to be done right. And make do was never an option. Everything has to be meticulous on everything. So everything I touch is applied to the same way as Taekwondo. It's got to be done right, and you can't leave anything missing out.
Well, I certainly learned that as an engineer. I was an aircraft engineer. I was when I left school, I worked at Rolls-Royce as a development engineer, and I was lucky enough to work on the Olympus 593 for Concorde.
All right, wow!
Everything. You know, I remember when we were training. You know, they used to say, "Oh, you know, these people have got their lives in your hands. You know, you cannot cut corners. You can't do this. You can't do that." And so it was quite you know, it was 100% inspection. If you didn't do it right, you had to do it again. Blah blah blah. So I did bring that sort of mentality. I did very well in engineering as well in my group as a trainee, and which is why I got to pick where I wanted to work within the company. So I wanted to work on developing the. We had the Olympus 593. We had the jump jet, Harrier jump jet, the Pegasus engine. Oh, fantastic times! But the bug of Taekwondo caught me after that.
Well, everything always dovetailed. It's always been a parallel, work and Taekwondo. And I had a chance back in, I think, 94. My students were really. I had about 150 students at the time, and so there was a chance of I could have gone full time, and thought about it, but it wasn't really such a big thing then. Yes. And plus, I was making silly money in the oil industry, anyways, and it was a lot to give up. But that summer, the council really messed up our halls, and my numbers just went down because every night we were in a different place, and that just killed everything. So I think because I held back, it wasn't for me at that time. And I still really enjoyed the oil field work because it was kind of gung-ho and exciting. And there wasn't much health and safety at the time, you know, so it was kind of man stuff, you know, and it was quite good. So it wasn't until later on that I changed tack and I was in training. I'd learned a lot of stuff in training about making manuals and learning about software, and then I had good organizational admin skills then. And then the oil field, I lost my job And so I had to change tack a little bit. And then we decided we need a step change in my life, because I had some problems that I wasn't coping in work at all, a bit stressed. So I thought, no, step change in life. So we developed kids programs, and for teaching 4 to 6s and 7 to 9s. And in the space of 3 years, we went from, both myself and my wife went from part-time taekwondo, part-time working, to full-time taekwondo. So we did it over a period of time. Yeah. And then we've been full-time for about 20 years now.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. Myself and Master Ogborn, which who I've been friends with Master Ogborn since we were sort of 8 and 9 years old, and we actually handed in our notice to our jobs on the same day at 12 o'clock. We made a pact with each other, but we weren't particularly organised. And to be honest, looking back, how we ever made it, I'll never know. This was 1985, and
all right. Wow.
It was absolutely madness. I was married. I had a mortgage. I had a kid on the way, and I nearly lost my house and everything. But we managed to get through. We're still here to this day. But I wouldn't advise anybody to do it like we did it. But there we go.
Yeah. But the passion for the job helps you, and
it does. It does.
And also, when you burn your ships, it motivates you.
Well, yeah, when you have to put food on the table, I tell you what, you have to get out.
And that is another driving factor. You're still self-employed, and definitely you can't be complacent. You have to, get up and ding ding, you're ready to go.
That's right. Well, I actually took a lesson once in a plaster cast, sitting on a chair. In the early days, because I had no one else to do it, so I thought, well, I've got to do it.
I've done that as well. Crutches. I had my leg done, so I remember that, hoofing it up the stairs on my crutches.
Definitely. Well, moving on. We're both a little bit older than when we first started.
Yes.
So my next thing is whether you do any sort of meditation or breath work. Now, I found meditation and breath work in the last few years, and I am enjoying it, and it's been good for me. I've sort of added it to my martial arts sort of protocol, not so much in the classes, but just for me as an individual, although I will try and incorporate a little bit more of it into the class as time goes on now. And I think because I'm at the age that I'm at, and I'm trying to get just a little bit something different out of the art. And I just wonder whether you do any meditation or breath work, or is it something that you've dabbled with?
It's definitely something I've dabbled with. I can honestly say I don't do it now, but I certainly did. I bought a lot of books on meditation, Qigong, and what started me off was down this path. I had problems with my back, and back when I was 31, I herniated 2 discs right down at the bottom.
Sure.
And so I'd been to the doctors. I hadn't even thought about osteopaths or anything. So I got referred, and they said, well, Mr. Wallace, we have to fuse your spine. I went,
crikey.
And then there was never any good stories about spinal fusion. They repaired the spine, but you lived it in pain, horrendous pain for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll pass on that, thanks very much. And I looked at other things, and I found a place that down in Dundee, I had to drive about 40 miles. And he was a physiotherapist, osteopath, and an acupuncturist. And I heard that. Wow. And I went there because all the Chinese people went there. And I thought, I'll go there. And he was my salvation. All right. No, I didn't need, I had to go for surgery eventually, but that was like 5 years later. And we did acupuncture. So I was absolutely, it wasn't, acupuncture itself didn't do it. It had to be a triage of acupuncture, manipulation, and traction.
Right.
But it was the acupuncture. I went in like this. I could not move. I was frozen. Yeah. And all we did was acupuncture all the way down my left side. And eventually, after 6 lessons, stand up, and I went, what is this black art? So I bought all books on it. I was actually going to do a degree in it down at Leamington Spa. They've got the acupuncture centre down there, so I could have done an open university. And I just wish I'd done that. But to get back to your point, that with Qigong and all the other things, I was very, very much interested. And one of my colleagues offshore, he did Reiki, so I trained in Reiki to level 2, and we used to go out to his house, and we did meditation and aura sensing and dowsing. You came out that afternoon absolutely just buzzing. It was just such an enlightenment, and we did a lot of it. But sadly to say, it's I'm not embraced in that very much. But I can still go back to it if I need a calm spot. I'll go and sit in the car with some trees and things and just listen to the trees. And so yes and no. I fully appreciate it, and I've used it, and fascinated by the strength of it. But actively, no, I'm a bit lame. I don't.
Well, it's funny you say about alternative treatments. I visit a chiropractor every week. I have a chiropractor. The great thing about the chiropractor that I visit is he's done taekwondo. Yeah. So as soon as I go in there, he'll sort of go, he said, "What have you been doing this week?" I said, "Oh, I've been doing side kicks and spinning kicks." "Oh, you should be doing that. Did you stretch before? Did you do this? Did you do that?" "Right, I'm going to give you these exercises." And he's quite tough on me, and I do like that. And he is very good, very, very good.
Well, I send all my students anything if they're feeling anything. I goes, "You've got to go to an osteopath. You've got to get right back to the center. Everything radiates out from the spine. So if you're getting throbbing here, well, there's nothing in your hip. It's because your spine's so get it clicked. So you should go to an osteopath every 6 months, like you go to the dentist, and make sure everything's in line. Because if it seizes, this is what happened to me. You know nothing about it.
Yes.
Because it doesn't move, it doesn't suck in the fluid to keep it moist, it just seizes, and it might not give you any pain, but 18 months on, that disc has dried out, and you do something stupid like reaching and grabbing a bag. It's not that, it's what happened 18 months ago.
18 months ago,
And that's what causes that. Oh, I could write books on back treatments and everything, and I still haven't had a spinal fusion to date. But I did find a super surgeon in England.
Oh, it's fantastic, isn't it? It is fantastic. And I think, I've had sort of similar things. And I actually, when I first went to my chiropractor, I was having neck problems. And he did some adjustments there. And I've never had them again, never had the problems again. But I was getting them regular. Absolutely regular, but it's been really good. So I would certainly
definitely
advise that.
Swear by them,
without a doubt. What about any sort of food protocols? I've had a spell of being I was vegetarian for some time, and then I had a point where I was just eating fish. I'm actually on just an animal-based diet now. I'm eating sort of nose to tail, and I have to say, I feel very energized. I've come to the conclusion by what I've read that there's no ideal diet for everyone. You have to sort of listen to your body, really. And that's what I've tried to do. I've listened to my body, and I've ate something and said, well, I don't think my body likes that. So I've not eaten that again, but I've eaten something else and then thought, wow, it feels quite comfortable. I feel strong. Just anything like that, really.
Well, we home cook everything. Yes. Every single thing, everything is cooked from scratch, and we vary it. We don't eat a lot because I really, really enjoy food. I really, really do. And but we only really have one meal a day. That's all. The rest is just, we don't have. Maybe we might have breakfast, but it's never a big breakfast. We like scrambled eggs and stuff like that in the morning. But lunchtime, if anything. But it's born out of habit. We end up eating at night every single time when we come in, and we eat at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and have done for the last 15 years to 20 years even. And it works for me. I don't put on any extra weight. I could obviously do more training, but if I wished, but I'm not overweight, and I'm still healthy, strong, very flexible. So I think homemade food not to excess like everything else.
Yeah.
Like you say, it works fine. And my penchant for Indian food hasn't made me put on weight, because I know exactly what goes into it. Portion controls are all sorted out, and it's all good stuff, So
yeah. Well, I would agree with that. I would definitely. In fact, when I was up early this morning, I put 6:30. I've put something in the slow cooker, which is cooking there now, and I tend to do that as well. I cook. I love cooking. In fact, I started cooking quite early. My mum started to teach me to cook when I was sort of 12, 13, because I was the first home from school, so I had to start the cooking. My mum was still at work, so she said, right, by the time I come home from work, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and so that's what I did. And actually, I enjoy cooking, and I enjoy cooking from scratch, and I still do it to this day. Very much like you, I have one meal a day, sometimes two. It depends. For example, today I'll eat at about 1:30, 2 o'clock. But I won't have anything else. I'll have a class this evening, and I'll have just water or green tea. I love green tea, and that's my lot. So, similar to yourself. I mean, I've seen you, and you do look strong, and you're fit, and you're a good weight. And also, I think that is important. As a martial arts teacher, if you're going to be there and standing there and preaching that, you've
got to be in shape, and. What I did with Zoom was I worked harder than I did normally in class. So my flexibility, I had big problems. I had a real bad, don't know if it was a tear or anything down this left side. And it was really, it annoyed me for such a long time. I'd been to physio, but they just didn't know what it was. And through the lockdown, I've done so much stretching on video, everything's gone pain-free, and my flexibility has actually increased. And in the stretching stats in the gym, we've got a stretching machine, and well, this was actually before lockdown, but we had see how far out you could get. So everybody in the school could go on it. We had to pack it up for the wee kids as well. Yeah. So I'm lying second right now.
Oh, wow.
In the gym. And I give my teenage black belts like a real hard time, because I must have the stiffest black belts in the country. So all during lockdown, all they got was kicking, leg raising, stretching every time. Guess what we're doing tonight, guys? And they go, So that was our main goal, was getting everybody more flexible. So tonight they're all back for the first time, so there'll be a lot of red faces, but their legs are going out tonight. So.
Oh wow! That's incredible. Well, I can't believe it. I just looked at the time. We're nearly on time, actually, for this one. But I just want to say it's been absolutely fantastic catching up with you.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking.
No worries. It's been great. I love doing these podcasts, so I can catch up with people, but also to inform the people that are listening about martial arts instructors, what we do, and what all about our passion, why we're passionate about it, and where we've come from. And I know you are very, very passionate about what you do, but also not just what you do, but passing it on in the right way, and being a good role model to your students as well. So I'd like to say thank you. Thank you very, very much. I wish you all the best. I hope that the gym continues to be successful. I'm sure it will. You got a fantastic attitude, and you're very knowledgeable. And I know that whenever anyone's mentioned you, they've always talked about you in a very nice way. So
well, that's all you can ask, isn't it? I like to think we're good hosts, because we like to treat people the way we would like to be treated. And when we hosted the IIC in Aberdeen. Yes. Again, it was just a case of all the VIPs have got to be spoilt rotten, and it was just a great thing to do and to welcome everybody in. So
yes,
I just apply the same thing. Be nice to people. There's no reason, for you not to be nice, and you have to create this world for yourself. I shall build a more peaceful world. Well, it doesn't have to be the globe. It's your own world, within your confines of your house. And when we tell this to the kids, You know, we say, well, the peaceful world is you, you know, not giving your mum and dad a hard time. So you start with your bedroom, you know, and you grow out from there, you know, and you have to make choices. And it's just like with friends and that, and colleagues sometimes, well, your paths go so far and you're thinking, well, my view, so, you know, you just change and adapt to make sure that your bubble and your environment stays happy, and then your whole world is good, and you're calm, you're not stressed, and
excellent.
That's how I try to look at it, you know.
Well, what wise words indeed. And I would say to anybody, we're going to put Master Wallace's contact details, or where you can perhaps connect with him to go and train. You certainly won't be disappointed. Like I say, very, very passionate about his martial arts and what he does. So, you know, get along there. If you're listening to this north of the border, or even not,
well north of the border,
get along there and get to one of his classes. Thank you very much, Master Wallace. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Master Gail. It's a pleasure seeing you again and chatting, and hope to get down and see you and Master Mark. Very soon.
Yeah. Oh, we love it. We'll look forward to it. Okay, take care.
Right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.